We're here with Tom Royer at Lahoma, our extension entomologist. And Tom, why don't we start with just an overview of some of the research that you have out here?
I'm working with Dr. Marburger, and one of the questions I've gotten over the last few years has to do with, as a lot of producers have moved into top dressing nitrogen later on in the year, the question always comes to me, what do you think about adding a really inexpensive insecticide to go along with the top dress? And my answer was, I don't know. My first answer was, well, it's not IPM because you're not scouting before you're treating. But I also said I don't know. And so one of the things that I started working with Dr. Marburger was, hey, let's just go out and see if it pays for itself on a yearly basis. We'll do multiple locations, multiple years, and then I'll have an answer that maybe helps out. Our first year, we saw that, we're kind of surprised that maybe there is some advantage to doing it. So I started thinking about why would that be? And one of the questions that I started seeing a lot this year was maybe there's a couple of sneaky pests that we don't typically deal with, like brown wheat mite or winter grain mite, that are in here and maybe robbing a little yield, and we don't typically scout for them. And maybe that type of application at that time of year really makes sense. So hopefully in 2 or 3 years from now, we'll have some really good information to share with producers, and maybe a reason as to why it works or doesn't work.
Now, part of the conversation this year, of course, is some of the challenges with yields. How do insects and controlling insects play into that conversation?
Well, like I said, the sneaky ones, they're maybe taking some yield that we don't ever realize, and anything that's adding to stress on a crop that's already under stress conditions is not a good thing. In a year like this, I heard Dr. Anderson talk about know yourself and know your fields. It's really important to go out and look at your field before you make a decision to treat for a pest. I actually had a farmer tell me this year that he was thinking he was going to treat for mites in his field. And I just said, well, let's go out and look at your field. And we went out and looked, and we weren't finding mites out there. And him spending an hour out in the field looking for that probably saved him a lot of money in a 200 to 300 acre field. Even if he was paying himself $50 an hour to scout, that's saving a lot of money. So in a year like this, scouting I think is even more important than it would be, so that you can save any inputs that you don't need.
How important is it for you in your job to have that interaction with growers, so you can then in turn set up research projects like this?
Sure.
And then later on have field days like this to share the information that you find?
We keep in our mind all the time that we work for the growers of Oklahoma. We're supported by tax money. We should be doing what they need us to do all the time. So I think about that, and it's really important to get producer feedback on anything that I want to look at moving forward, because it's to benefit them, and that's really what my job is, to try and provide information that will benefit growers so they can be more successful.
Well, keep us posted on your research.
Okay.
It sounds pretty interesting. Sure. Thanks a lot, Tom. We'll see you again soon.
Okay.